Hi.
It's happening.
Give it a couple of seconds for people to actually get the notification, and I guess we can get started.
I'll let you know as soon as I see it because I don't see it yet.
Do we see anybody coming on?
Here we are, live.
Live?
What do I do? Hit this?
Yeah.
No.
Are we seeing people come on?
Yep, Trina Radford smiling
My
for the laugh.
sister. Hey, sis.
Hi, Amy. Hi, Troy. Hi, Catherine.
Okay, so everyone, I just want to welcome you to our first Saturday SIP or self-isolation party. This is all very new to us, very, very new to me, so you'll have to forgive me if I stumble over some words. Please, some people in the comments, just give a thumbs up if everybody can hear me okay and everybody can see me okay.
Thanks,
That would
Mike.
be great. Awesome. So with this first one, what I thought we'd do is just kind of give everybody a welcome. I know everybody's kind of feeling a little bit anxious and a little bit in need of some social contact right now. So we thought this would be kind of a fun way for us to reach out to our wonderful people that follow Noble Ridge, and that's awesome. So one of the things that we've been doing here at Noble Ridge, everybody is safe and healthy. I just want to make sure I get that out there. Benoit and his team are doing an amazing job in the vineyard and making sure that everything is ticking along so that we have wine for you guys coming up, as well as wine coming up right now. So of course we can't host you right now in the tasting room, but we are instituting, we do have complimentary shipping for any purchases made online or over the phone for 6 bottles or more. We've also started curbside delivery for those people that live in our area. So if you're in Penticton, the lovely Catrice or one of our wonderful team members will deliver to your door on Tuesdays. And if you're in the Oliver area, that day would be Thursdays. And then our regular shipping days, of course, are Mondays and Wednesdays. And also, I will be live with you guys on every Saturday with a couple of wines. So today we're going to go through our Reserve Pinot Noir, which was just released last week, and our wonderful 2017 Chardonnay, Reserve Chardonnay.
We're all very excited about
And
it.
I'm going to give you a couple of food pairings, and then right at the end, I've actually put together a little recipe that I'm actually going to try to go over with you, and I have all the ingredients here. I'm actually not going to cook it, but I'll save that for me and Ollie later on tonight, and we're going to enjoy that with the Pinot Noir. So we're going to get going. So first I want to talk to you about the 2017 vintage. So both of these are from 2017. So the 2017 vintage here in the Okanagan had a very, very wet spring, one of the wettest on record with like 150 to 200% more precipitation in the spring than a normal year. So what that did is it delayed bud break about 2 weeks from our 2016 vintage, which wasn't necessarily a bad thing. But that did have a little bit more work for Benoit to do in the vineyard, as it created some very, very vigorous growth and a huge amount of canopy management that Benoit and his team had to do. Our Okanagan summers are always very, very hot, very, very dry. And 2017, the Okanagan, it's always kind of forest fires. We have an issue with that. But with 2017, there weren't any in our growing areas. We did have quite a high smoke cover. And what that did is actually lowered the temperature for July and August. And what that did is it created a longer growing season. So that actually delayed some of that getting ripe too quickly. So it allowed a little bit more further flavor development in the 2017 vintage, especially with the Burgundy varietals, which we're going to go over today. Harvest started a little bit later, probably about 2 weeks later. So the 2 weeks delay in the start kind of went all the way through the year. With most of us harvesting late September, early October. And then, so with these combination of all of these factors, created what I would consider maybe a rock star vintage. So that, especially with the Burgundy varietals. So that's a real balance and a real elegance to these wines. with some really good ageability because that acidity stayed really nice and high, so we can really age these wines quite quickly. Not quickly, age these wines over a long period of time. I told you I'm going to stumble over some words. Okay, so those of you that have the 2017, the Chardonnay and the Pinot Noir, please pour yourself a glass, and we're going to go through it. I'm going to go through both of these wines, starting with, sorry, I've got notes here. Starting with the 2017 Reserve Chardonnay. Now the fruit from the 2017, right here, Chardonnay came from blocks 8 and 9 from both from our Noble Ridge vineyard here. So every piece of fruit that went into this vintage came from right on site here. We used 2 clones. Both of these are Burgundian clones. The first one being clone 76, which probably doesn't mean a lot to a lot of you guys, but it originated in the Saint de Loire, which is in southern Burgundy. Now, the thing about this particular clone is that it produces very balanced wines. So the balance between acidity and fruit is just perfect, especially for cooler climate wineries like ourselves. And then we have clone 95, which originates in the Côte d'Or, and I am butchering that, and you just have to forgive me for that. I'm getting giggles from this side, from the peanut gallery. And the great thing about this clone is it produces very full, rich, and again, very balanced wines with some really superior aromatics. And the combination of these two, Benoit really, really likes, and it creates a wonderful balanced wine for these for this vintage. Now for the winemaking on this, with our reserve tier, we actually fermented in stainless steel and then put it into French barrels for 14 months. We don't allow any malolactic fermentation. And hands up or waves on the screen who knows what malolactic fermentation is. It's kind of a misnomer because it's not actually a fermentation. There's no actual conversion of sugar to alcohol here. It's actually an enzyme that we can add to the wine that converts the malic acid to lactic acid in the wines, which is where you get that kind of buttery creaminess in wines. And here, we're trying very hard not to do that. We want to preserve that really rich fruit that you come up on front and then get that oak influence more on the finish. So I have the wine here. We're going to go through a little bit of a tasting on this one. So, serving this wine, you don't want it refrigerator cold. Chardonnay is one of those wines that actually benefits from being just served a little bit warmer. So we like it at about 12 degrees. So if you have this in your refrigerator, take it out about an hour before you're going to serve it or you're going to enjoy it. So you want that kind of that richness to come through in the glass. So I have to get to my notes here. There we go. On the nose. Oh, man. The first thing that hits me is that orchard fruit. That kind of stone fruit. I'm getting a little bit of peaches and cream, a little bit of citrus notes coming through. I get a little bit more lime zest than I do get that kind of lemon. And everybody's going to be different. One of the things I want everybody to understand is if I give you a tasting note of saying, oh, you're going to get loads of lemon on this and you don't get lemon, that's okay. Everybody's palate is different and everybody has a different frame of reference. So, if you're not getting those things, but you're picking up zucchini, that's awesome. You're getting zucchini. That's perfectly okay. So again, you get those subtle citrus notes, and then right at the back, you might just pick up just a little hint of vanilla, maybe a little bit of almost creme brulee-like notes. So a little hint of sweetness, but a little bit of that kind of really rich vanilla tone coming through. And again, sorry, I should be spitting, but I'm not. Yeah. And again, those notes are just like finished through on the palate as well. So with those notes you get on the nose, you kind of get on the palate. So you get those kind of rich, kind of Okanagan stone fruit coming through right at the front, on the front of your tongue. And then you get this kind of like rich vanilla, almost a burnt caramel coming through on the finish.
I should add, Amy has noticed some pineapple.
Yeah.
And Sam says, okay, I need to get some of that. My mouth is watering.
All of these wines are available online. And if you live in the area, of course, we can arrange for delivery or pickup here at the winery. So they're all available online. Keep in mind, any order of 6 bottles or more, we're going to do it for you for free. So again, you might pick up a little bit of tropical notes as well. That's a very good note, Amy. Sorry.
I have a request for someone to join the live video. Do you want someone to come in?
Who is it?
Daniel Neuschwander? I'm sorry if I butchered your name, Daniel.
Okay. Go for it.
Go live with Daniel. Hi, Daniel.
Hey, Daniel.
Oh, we're just waiting on him to join.
I can keep going.
So this one for food pairing, it's pretty easy. Like anything that you would normally serve with Chardonnay, especially seafood. It's kind of the recipe that I've got going on later on in this broadcast. We'll go over a seafood recipe for this, but also very good with a little bit, popcorn, anything else that you'd normally serve with Chardonnay. Oh, okay. Here's the bottle, everyone. I've got a request to show the bottle. Let's try to get it a little bit closer. That way, everything is backwards to me, so there we go. Everybody can see that. Awesome. And something that you might not think of Chardonnay with is next week is Easter, turkey. Because you've got those little spice notes coming on. And something with turkey, you've got that rich stuffing, you get those wonderful garlic mashed potatoes that you're going to serve. This will actually be a nice little wine to start off with as well. Any questions about the Chardonnay coming through? Has Daniel come in?
I don't think Daniel's joining us. We're sad about it, Daniel.
No worries.
But Dawn Gallen says she tried it with chicken carbonara and it was delicious. And Leslie Grover is enticed with popcorn ideas, so.
Yes. You want to get a little bit of decadent, you got a little bit of truffle oil sitting in the back of your pantry, a little bit of truffle oil in your butter on your popcorn. Ultimate Netflix night. Awesome. I actually had it, so I was doing a little bit of testing with this vintage last night, and I did a little bit of shrimp with butter, garlic, some shallots that I had laying around, and with I didn't have any linguine. I was out of linguine, but I used spaghettini, which is not exactly the same, but it's pretty close. So yeah, so I actually had that the leftovers for lunch today. I had to kind of take them away from Ollie. He was a little bit jealous that he didn't get any this morning. So. For those of you that don't know, Ollie's my dog. And yes, during the social distancing, it's me and Ollie most nights. So, okay. So we are going to move on to our 27 Pinot Noir. And again, with this vintage, it all came from our home vineyard here on Noble Ridge. Both the Chardonnay and the Pinot Noir, I should say, is coming from the north side of our vineyard, which is kind of a little bit more shaded, a little bit more better suited to our Burgundian varietals. And for our Pinot Noir, it came from blocks 11, 12, and 13. We use 4 clones for Pinot Noir, but we use 2 very special ones. And ones that aren't normally seen here in the valley, and something that are I wouldn't say unique to us, but that do provide us some really special kind of things that happen with our Pinot Noir. Clone 113, which is perhaps one of the most elegant of the Dijon clones. So Dijon is the area in Burgundy where the majority of Pinot Noir is grown. and it produces very high aromatics and a nice weight and body to the wine. So it gives it a little bit more heft than some of the more common clones. And Clone 114, which is a very different and very almost rare clone that we use here. And it gives you classic dark stone fruit. So that's where that really prominent plum note comes through. And gives us a really nice spice note that comes really through. And we get some very, very small berries with our Pinot Noir, which produces very dark, very rich Pinot Noirs. Our winemaking on our Pinot Noir is very different, very unique. I believe we are the only vineyards in the Okanagan that are utilizing a cellulose system called Geneva Double Curtain, which was actually started in Geneva, New York, not Geneva, Switzerland. I had to learn that. And was actually created for Concord grapes. So, but we found that it works so well with our Pinot Noir and our Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon. So how that works is actually...
I have to pause just before
Sure.
you go too far because I don't want to go too far. Allison says hello. Allison Markin specifically.
Oh,
goes,
hey,
"Hi,
Allison."
Preston."
How you doing?
Sorry.
You'll have to give me a grade after this. Hit me up on my other Facebook.
Sorry, you were talking Geneva Double Curtain.
Geneva Double Curtain, yes. So it was created in, like I said, Geneva, New York, in the early 1930s, 1920s, 1930s, in that era. And what that is our vines grow very, very high, and we grow double density. But what we do is we grow one up like this, the next one up like this. And we actually train our vines down instead of up, which is very difficult and very stressing for the vines, but it actually makes them concentrate all of their energy on their fruit. And our fruiting zone sits right about where my nose is, which is a little bit different, usually with a traditional vertical shoot position, which is about 99% of the vineyards in the valley here. It's around knee level. And what that does is gives it much more intense heat, much more intense sunlight. And with our Pinot Noir, our biggest concern is that the actual vines don't get too hot. So we actually have to leave a little bit more leaf cover on the vines to make sure that the berries don't burn. Now with our Pinot Noir, Pinot Noir is a passion for Noble Ridge. So we baby these three blocks, blocks 11, 12, and 13, which are, once you visited Noble Ridge, they're right off the parking lot. So you can see them as you're parking your car. And we encourage you this summer to come and visit us once this is all over so that we can show you those. We will do several passes on our Pinot Noir just so that we're picking at ultimate ripeness. And Benoit will ferment each one of these separately. So with the 2017 vintage, we didn't pick the Pinot Noir until about the second to third week in October is when we picked the majority of our Pinot Noir, which is a little bit later for us, but we got some really rich, really complex fruit out of this vintage. Each one of those separate pickings we will actually ferment separately, and they'll go into very specialized barrels. Benoit likes 2 coopers and 2 coopers only for our French barrels. And we'll leave those in the barrel for this one. Generally it's about 14 months. This vintage was 16 months. It was a little bit longer in the barrel. And then we'll bottle it, age it for a year. So we just released this vintage, like I said, just a couple of weeks ago. So if you've got it in front of you, please make sure you're enjoying while I'm talking. I have to keep
a serious voice.
Yes, that was my serious voice. It goes down an octave. So winemaking, destemmed, crushed, cold soaked for 5 days. Now during that 5 days, Benoit will actually see toward the end of that 5 days a little bit of spontaneous fermentation happening, which adds a little bit of a different character, a little bit more depth to this wine as well before he actually inoculate it and start the actual full-on fermentation. We're only using about 20 to 30% new oak. We want it to be, the remainder of that will be second fill, a couple of third fill barrels as well. Now, on to the tasting, which is everybody's fun part. So, again, on the nose, I get just, it's really, really complex. You really got to get your nose in there, and you really got to concentrate because there is so much going on in this glass. I get so much black and blue fruit, and it's just so bold, it just like jumps right out of the glass at you. So you have this almost like huckleberry or blueberry note coming through, but you got this nice like black raspberry and black cherry notes coming through. Little hint of sweetness coming through, but a lot of earthiness as well. So we got some nice earth notes coming through. The root systems in our vines go down so deep. They're going down like about 10 meters, which is like insane. So they're pulling up some nice minerality, some nice earth tones to these wines as well. So I also get just a hint of floral notes, a little hint of almost a feminine floral note coming through, almost like a hibiscus note for those of you that have hibiscus in your backyard. So we have that. For those of you who heard that noise in the background, that was our fridge. And it's nicely turned it off itself, so that's great. And again, same as the Chardonnay, those first notes that you get on the nose are really continued through on the palate. What I love about the 2017 vintage is it's got some structure, but it's not overwhelming. Even though this wine was just released, it's got that structure and it's got tannin, but it's not overwhelming. Yes?
Lee Noble is asking, what temperature for your Pinot? 12 degrees as well?
No, Pinot Noir can be served a little bit cooler. As with all red wines, they should not be room temperature, so it shouldn't be 20 degrees. I like this wine somewhere between 16 and 17 degrees. So what I do at home is I throw it in the fridge for about 20 minutes, gets just a slight chill on it, brings it down to that kind of optimal kind of 16 degrees, where it's kind of where my sweet spot is. And Pinot Noir is my jam, as Catrice would say.
Yeah.
And this is, I will drink Pinot Noir every day for the rest of my life if I could.
Because that's your jam.
Speaking of jam, you might actually pick up a little bit of jamminess on this wine as well. So you got almost like a brambleberry jam note coming through, a little bit of just a little hint of that. This wine is dry, but it is so full of flavor. You can drink this wine, and when you're concentrating on the flavors, you're going to pick up 6 or 7 or 8 different flavor notes coming through all at the same time. So, take your time with it. Have some fun. Figure out what it is that you're picking up. Hopefully, it's all good notes. So we have lots of integrated tannins in this, but like I said, they are really not overwhelming. You're not getting that pucker note. It's just like full of fruit, full of flavor. It's got that nice balance of acidity there, so this wine's going to hang around for a good decade or so. Food pairings, Pinot Noir, it's one of those things. You have duck, grilled salmon, coarse mushrooms, eggplant for those people that are vegetarian. Because this wine is so deep and so rich and so structured, you can actually get a little bit more bold with this one. You can get into like the barbecue meats. You can, if you're a fan of game meats, quail or venison are going to go beautifully with this wine as well. Again, it is a new wine. Got it in your cellar right now. Let it open up, let it breathe for a good 20, 30 minutes. If you've got a decanter, use that, or one of those aerating pourers will work well as well. So we have any comments, any questions, anything from the Peanut Gallery for Pinot Noir?
I think they're enjoying it. I'm hearing lots of appreciating
I just have a stream of like recipe ideas. It's like brisket, mushroom pizza.
Oh, brisket. Oh, definitely.
it. Mushroom pizza.
Oh,
Mm.
pizza? Yes. This is kind of a go-to. I'm a huge fan of margarita pizza, and wonderful with this. Especially, and if you're not into, strictly Pinot Noir, a Blanc de Noir. So a sparkling wine or a rosé sparkling will go wonderfully with margarita pizza as well. How are we for time? 24 minutes. Okay. So here we go. Last thing I want to do, now that we've tasted the wines, we've enjoyed the wines, and hopefully continue to enjoy the wines there at home, we are going to go through a little recipe.
Pulling out the gloves, guys.
Pulling out the gloves because dropped them on the floor. We're not going to use that. The times we live in.
And those are tea.
These are the large ones too.
Are they? Oh,
Yeah.
gee.
Thank you. Got to stay safe in these days. So the recipe that I'm going to, there's a little bit of history to this. And I'm going to get a phone call from my mother later on because, somebody's calling in. This is a recipe that I probably grew up with, but I don't remember it. It's a salmon loaf. So as we are getting further and further into this situation that we're in, your pantry's looking a little bit weird, a little bit wonderful. And it's something it's called salmon loaf. So it's when you're tired of meatloaf and you've got that can of salmon that's been sitting in your backyard or back of your pantry forever and you don't know what to do with it. So this is a great alternative to meatloaf. And I'm sure my mom made it when I was growing up, but I don't remember. Yes.
Just one comment that someone has commented that she's concerned she can't see the countertop, and I've replied that you will be showing.
Yeah, I'm going to show you guys all the ingredients and all of the weights and measures. I know you guys don't have this stuff in front of you, but I will be putting this recipe up on our website probably tomorrow, and I'll also give you the recipe that I'm going to go over next week, so you guys will have it in advance for that. But this recipe comes from my dearly departed ex-mother-in-law who came to us from Mississippi. And it's a recipe that her and I made one Wednesday evening when we were tired and really didn't feel like getting too creative in the kitchen. And she booked out this recipe that she grew up with in the Deep South in Mississippi. And I'm going to hear from my own mother tonight saying, oh, I made that for you when you were a kid, which is, I'm sure it's going to happen. But here we go. So you take one wonderful large can of salmon. Now here it is. I put it in a bowl. You will need 2 cups of breadcrumbs. There we go. 1/3 cup of onion or shallot, whatever you have on hand. 2 eggs. Tablespoon of lemon juice. 1/3 cup of milk. 2 teaspoons of dried dill because I don't have any fresh dill in the house.
It is evil.
And a little sprinkling of black pepper. Now, as I'm going to be cooking this later on with me and Ollie, and I want to enjoy it with the Pinot Noir, what I've done is I've taken a very small package of smoked salmon that I'm going to add to that as well. And that actually comes from Sea Change, which is a company that we started dealing with here. And while I'm talking, I'm just going to start putting all this stuff in here. There we go. Nobody can see that, but that's okay.
The magic that happens.
The magic that happens behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Sea Change is a company. It's a BC small company that only deals with fresh wild salmon. And the great thing about this company, as with a lot of the companies that we deal with, they really embody our Be Noble philosophy, and they actually donate a portion of their proceeds of all of their sales to local food banks. So that is, if you can check them out online, great. We also have a few of their products up on our website as well if you can't connect with them. And we do encourage you to support your local small businesses at this time. Okay, there we go. Crack those eggs in there. Now, one of the big reasons I put the gloves on is because I'm going to use my hands, because of course you've got to use your hands. So you just put everything into a bowl, nice and easy, just like something you can do with the kids, give them something to do, make them play in their food, which is awesome. So there we go. I can't do this. So bring it together. I promise next week we'll have a little tripod so that you guys can actually see what I'm doing. Takes just a couple of seconds for it all together, just like your normal, everyday Wednesday night meatloaf at home. Grab your loaf pan. And of course, by this time you have preheated your oven to 350 degrees. This is just going to take 30 minutes in the oven. Basically, everything is cooked in there anyway, so basically you're just heating everything through. There we go. End of the day, that's what it looks like. Pop it in the oven, 30 minutes, dinner's done. Like I said, a great alternative to use kind of that back of the pantry items that are kind of been kicking around for a while. You don't know what to do with them. And it's delicious.
Yahoo.
And pairs beautifully with, excuse me, both the Chardonnay and the Pinot Noir. That was my biggest challenge, is finding a recipe that I had stuff that was sitting in the back of my pantry that was going to go with both of these wines. Now, if you want to do something a little bit different, if you're going to have it with the Chardonnay, I do suggest maybe adding a little bit of smoked salmon pate in there instead of that sockeye salmon, which is what I use for the Pinot Noir. And I know everybody likes to have a little bit of sauce to go with it, and I really don't recommend ketchup with either one of these because it's not going to be. But we have two kind of great products that we carry here in the shop. Taste of the Okanagan Peach Chutney and Backyard Farms, which is from Chris Van Huydonk. He has a peach chutney as well. So if you're going to enjoy this with the Chardonnay, I highly recommend adding this on the top at the end of the, once it's all cooked. Or if you're going to do the Pinot Noir, you really have to have ketchup. Do the cherry ketchup from Chris Van Huydonk.
So good.
Absolutely amazing. And it's going to really bring out those kind of dark cherry notes in the Pinot Noir as well.
You will never use ketchup again.
Yes.
Oh, it's so good.
I've been dying to get the recipe off Chris, but he won't give it to me.
Yeah.
Next week?
Next week. So next week is Easter. And normally, I know with my family, everybody, the whole family is going to would normally get together, do the big turkey dinner. You've got sisters and nieces and nephews and mom and dad and grandparents if you have them, and all that kind of stuff would be getting together for turkey dinner. A lot of us are going to be doing that through Facebook, or through FaceTime. So you still want to do a turkey dinner, you're probably going to have a bit left over. So the recipe that I want to do next week is a turkey tetrazzini. So to use up some of those leftovers in a great little kind of quasi-North American Italian dish to go with that. And the two wines that I've picked for that would be our Rosé, our 2018 Rosé, and our 2017 Reserve Meritage. Now, you wouldn't think of Meritage as a wine to go with turkey, but believe me, it works. And for those people that are tuning in today, we wanted to give you a little bit of an incentive to have both of those wines in your cellar or on hand so we can do the tasting together next week, and you'll have all those wines with you. If you purchase those wines either online between now and Sunday at midnight, we will cover the shipping on any number of those wines. No coupon code is needed. We've set it up so that if you have one of those wines in your shopping basket, they will automatically take the shipping off. But that's only until Sunday at midnight, okay? And if we have any comments or questions, we'll do that. Otherwise,
I think we've got a
we're
great
going
picture.
to see you next week.
Got a great picture of one of our fans, Colin, actually watching you tasting the wine. And doing
Yes,
stuff.
Colin.
Yes, Colin.
Thanks, Colin.
I have a lovely comment from Jan, who is actually one of our White Club members. Hi, Jan. This was really informative and enjoyable. Thanks so much. Looking forward to next week's live video.
Oh, awesome.
Amy Johnson also says, thank you. Love this virtual tasting. Thank you. Grateful.
Yeah, so we want to do this every Saturday until, even maybe after this is all over with. I was quite nervous before we started this, but hopefully I didn't talk too fast and everybody enjoyed. And I will have some special guests coming up over the next little bit. We want to maybe have Jim come in, maybe Benoit, and awesome. So it was great to virtually see you all today, and we cannot wait be able to welcome you back into the tasting room. But until then, see you next Saturday.
I have one more question if you don't mind answering.
Sorry.
It's got a 2013 Meritage. When do I have to drink by?
2013, we have not tasted that in a little while. To be honest, we did the 9, 10, and 11, but those are peaking quite nicely. Send us a direct message or an email to us, and I will touch base with Benoit and get some information from him. Because to be quite honest, I'm not sure on their team.
At least another 5 to 10.
At least, sure. Yeah. We're finding that, the 2006 was just peaking between last year and this year. And the 2009 was actually also drinking amazingly well. So if you kind of push that forward, you probably got some time on the 2013. But again, I'll touch base with Benoit and get a more definite answer.
I like this being our first one. Maybe we'll create a little bit of a question and answer at the end of these things too.
Yeah. So everybody knows it's the rosé and the new Reserve Meritage. So if you have any questions about these wines or any of our other wines, please send them in between now and next Saturday. And at the end of the session, I'll try to get to as many of those as I can.
Fantastic.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. See you next week.